Hello, this video is about keeping up at ukulele club. Now I know a lot of people that play the ukulele go to ukulele clubs. Ukulele clubs are amazing places because it's not just about the music with a ukulele, it's about sharing music with other people. And a ukulele club is a great place not only to make music, but to make friends and to connect with people, and yes, to go and have a drink at the pub and have a social life. And music is a great way of socialising. I always say to my students, if you can find a club that's near to you and you can get to it, go along to a ukulele club. It will really help you with your playing. But quite often people say, well, I tried that, but I couldn't keep up, or I'm frightened that I won't be able to keep up. I know that people may have started playing during lockdown. A lot of people that I've met at recent events, now I'm able to get out again, they started during lockdown and have only ever played along with a Zoom sort of group or with YouTube videos, and have never sat in a room with other people and played. And now those things can happen again. I'm saying to people, if you can, try and get along to a club. Don't be afraid of not being able to keep up. So I thought, what would be 10 simple things that you could do to help in keeping up with the ukulele club and just playing along in a stress-free way with other people. And these are also really good tips to get your club, maybe your club you want to step it up a bit and you want to start maybe going out and doing a few little performances. These will also really help you get your club to a performance level. So let's get stuck into them. Number 1, listen. Now, yes, this might sound boring, but listening is really, really important. Listening to the people around you. So one thing I often say to people is, if you're brand new at the ukulele club and you've sat down there and this is the first song, you don't have to play the first song. You could just listen to everyone else and get a feel for what it's going to be like. Maybe, rather than strumming, you could just try and follow the chords with your left hand, changing at the right moment. Doesn't matter if you get it wrong, no one's going to hear you. Just to start to get the feel for how it goes. Of course, diving in that first song is also a great thing to do, but listening isn't just about sitting there passively. So when you're playing, try and listen to the sound of the whole group and see where you fit in with it. One exercise I like to do with ukulele clubs when I do workshops is split the room in two and have the group play a very familiar song, but half the group listen to the other half and then switch. Because when you're playing, it's difficult to listen. So if you're going to use these tips to get your group playing at a more professional, if you like, level, a better quality of a performance, maybe to take it out into the world, doing that is really good, because otherwise you don't get a chance to hear because you're too busy playing. Point number 2 is very much related to that, but in a kind of different way. And that is, do you know the songs? Because quite often you'll have a songbook for a ukulele club. You might even get hold of the songbook before your first visit. It might be online, you might get it emailed to you by the leader of the group saying, you know, these are the songs we're going to play, or this is where you can get the songbook from. Find those songs on whatever it is that you like to listen to music on, but you'll be able to find all of them on YouTube or Spotify. You might have them on CD, you might even just hear them on the radio. Play those songs. Don't try and learn them. Don't try and play along with them. Just have them on while you're doing the washing up, while you're doing the ironing, because that way you'll know what that song should sound like. It won't be a complete blank canvas when somebody calls that song out for you in a session. Point number 3 is have a quick scan through the songs you're going to play. It might just be the 10 seconds while everyone's opening the page and getting ready for the next song to start, but just have a quick scan down the page just to see what's going to happen. Are there any surprises? Now, often when you see a song sheet for a ukulele club, quite often they have the little chord diagrams at the top. Now, you might not need those chord diagrams anymore. You don't need to see a picture of a C chord. You've played it a lot. But those diagrams can be really useful, particularly if they're all collected together at the top or down the side of the page, because it means you can see instantly how many chords there are in this song. So if you look at the top and there are 3 pictures, you know that you're only going to be dealing with 3 chords. There probably aren't going to be any nasty surprises. Whereas if you look and there are 7 chords, then the chances are that maybe only 3 or 4 of them will be in the verse and maybe 1 more in the chorus. There might be something coming up like a middle 8 or a bridge that does something else. A quick scan down the page can just alert you to what might be coming, rather than just trying to read and play one line, read and play the next line. Just a quick check to make sure there's nothing that's going to trip you up. Point number 4 is simplify. Now, if you can hear everybody around you going, and I'm not talking about changing chords here. The chords, you play the same chords as everyone else, but if there's lots of really fancy strumming going on and it's a really fast song and you think there's no way I can manage that pattern with this hand at that speed, simplify it. You don't have to play the same rhythm. One of the best things you can do right in the early stages of the Ukulele Club experience is to play on the first beat of every bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That way you'll get a feel for where the chord changes come, but this hand can be nice and relaxed. Maybe as you get more confident, you'll put more strums in. But if everyone's going and you're just going, that's a lot easier and less stressful, and it will sound good in the context of a whole group. Number 5 might be a bit of a controversial one in terms of people, coming back and saying, but I can't do this and that at the same time. And that is eye contact. Now, most clubs, if you've got more than, say, 12 people, more than a dozen people in your group, you're really going to have somebody who is leading. If there's just a few of you, that's just like most bands, you'll just sit together and play. But I watch clubs that have 20, 30, 40. I've seen clubs of going on for 100 people all playing together. If you don't have a leader, a conductor, you're going to hit problems. The only issue with that, of course, is that if everyone is reading their sheet and looking at their fingers, they're not looking at the person leading. So for this one, I would say, try and position your music in such a way that 1, it's not covering your face, but 2, you don't have to keep looking around everywhere. So if your group has a leader, more on this in a second, if your group has a leader and the leader is, say, because it depends on where you're sitting, if they're in the middle, they might be right in front of you. If you're on one side, they might be over there, and if you're on the other side, they might be over there. Position your music and your ukulele so that you can look at your left hand and your music and the leader. So you might have to change your angle or move your music stand. But if you have your hand here, your music there, and your leader over there, then you're going to constantly be doing this all the time. Whereas if I get my music and put my music stand just down here, just out of view so I can see over it and the audience can see me, when I look down at my left hand to see what my fingers might be doing, I can also see my music just here beyond it. And if I'm positioned in such a way that the leader is just there, then I can kind of just move my eyes to look between chord, music and leader. That's going to really minimise the chances of you losing your place on the page, or not looking at your fingers and playing a horrible chord like that, or missing a big hand gesture to say stop, for example, from your leader. And you don't want to be the only one that doesn't stop. More about groups, again, if you're thinking about taking your group out and playing in public, if you've got a large group, I would say any more than a dozen people, really think about having a leader who is standing in front of you with their back to the audience. And if you're standing up to perform, and maybe on a little raised stage, your leader might stand off the stage, and that way they're not covering everybody up. Now, I know the leader of the group might want to be the one at the front, sort of being the star and taking all the glory. But if you think about choirs and you think about orchestras, they have their leader facing the musicians, not the audience. And that way, everyone can see when we start. They can go 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, start. They can also point at people to remind you of things. Maybe there's a moment in a song where you go like this. So they can go and back in again. And if you're able to see that, it's one less thing to remember because you're being taken through the song. I do recommend that if you've got a larger group, you have a leader at the front facing the performers. If that's not practical, another way of doing it is to have the leader at one end of the stage or at the other facing across so they can see the audience on one side of them, they can see the performers on the other side of them, and everybody knows that the leader is either over there to their right or over there to their left. I would put them over there to their left. Sorry, left-handers, but if you are a right-handed player, you can see your hand, you can see the music, and your leader is going to be on that same side, not over there. It'll be different depending on where you are in the line, but that way the leader can lead from the side of the stage and still be seen by the audience, still be part of the performance. But think about having someone there. And that's the whole point of this, is maintain eye contact when you can. Look to your leader. Look to other people in the group. Get your cues from everybody else. It'll really help bring everybody together. Number 6, play with confidence. Don't be timid. You'll screw up. So will everybody else. It doesn't matter. The ukulele club is a friendly environment. Everybody there is doing it for fun. They're not being judgmental. We'll have a laugh about it. Everyone will screw up at some point. So that means you can afford to play with confidence. However, if you can hear that everybody else is doing something different to you, don't plow on doing the thing that you're doing. If you can hear that everyone else has changed and you haven't, and you can't figure out why, then while you're figuring out, either just play very, very quietly until you can hear that you found your place again. Maybe you forgot that there was a repeat coming up and they all repeat the chorus and you start playing the verse. It's very tempting to just go, well, I'm following this piece of paper and I'm not going to listen to what everyone else is doing. And again, the previous point on eye contact is really important here, because they might be doing that thing because the leader has said, do that again, repeat that. Number 7 is to look ahead. Now, I said about scanning the sheet earlier, but this is in real time. If you're reading the chart and you play a chord, immediately try and quickly look ahead to see when the next chord comes and what it is. Because it is much better to bail out of a chord early in order to hit the new chord at the right time than it is to hang on to the old chord for dear life and then as the next chord happens, then start reading what it is. Because by the time you've read it and you've got your fingers in place, you're a beat or 2 beats or 3 beats into the bar and you've missed the change. The audience, if they've heard 2 bars of C, they know what a C is. So if the next chord is an F and you find that transition, even if you don't find it tricky, but you know it's going to take some time, give yourself a fighting chance by going, a C. What's the next chord? Oh, it's an F. Right, I'll get ready for that. It will sound so much better, and in your group, everyone will have different degrees of ability and confidence, which means you won't hear the gap because some people will be able to leave it very late, and if you're new, you might want to give yourself more time. But in the gap that you're leaving to get to the new chord, the more experienced players will be able to fill more of that gap, and the overall effect will be much better if you all land on that new chord on the 1, even at the expense of missing something out before. Number 8, if you're not sure, don't stop, just play quieter. So if you're bashing along and suddenly, say, a chord comes along that you don't know yet, then maybe do this. I know this chord. Oh my goodness, what on earth is this next chord? I'll learn that one later. I'll come back to it. What I did was I muted the strings. I stopped playing quite as loud, but I kept the song going. I didn't stop. Because if you stop, then it's like trying to get on a moving train. It's very difficult to pick up that rhythm. So keep the rhythm going. In fact, if you do that, playing the right rhythm, that'll sound fine. That'll sound great. Until the point where you go, oh, that, and the next chord is, I know that one. Now, if it's not that it's a chord you don't know, but maybe you just get a little bit lost in the song, just turn your volume right down. Oh, that doesn't sound quite right. And then try and pick up cues. Have a little look at your sheet and go, oh, if everyone's not playing that chord, are we doing the chorus again? Have we gone to the middle 8 or something like that? Or was there that little pattern where we stayed on one chord in between verses and I've forgotten it and jumped ahead? And then once you've sort of figured out where you are, even look at your fellow players' fingers to see what chord they're on. And then you go, oh no, they're not playing. What are they? Oh, they're playing a C. It's all right. Now I can turn my volume up again. And again, in a group setting, no one will notice that. Everyone will just see that you are still playing. Number 9, write on your charts. Keep notes. Put little reminders on there. This is where having your stuff on an iPad can be a disadvantage, because if you've got a paper folder, you can take that sheet out. You can get a pen and underline things. You can write ×2 in Sharpie in a big bold black letters and things next to something to make sure you remember to repeat something. You can get coloured marker pens and highlight the little bits that you really want to make sure that you focus on, because that's the bit where you messed up last time, or that's the bit that you are going to do a particular thing on, or maybe that's the bit where there's a stop and you don't want to be the only person still going. I, to this day, never really trust someone playing who hasn't scribbled notes all over their charts to remind themselves of these things. They're really useful. If you're using a chart, it might as well contain useful information to you. So write notes all over that chart to help you. And finally, number 10, relax. Have fun. This is a fun thing to do, to go to Ukulele Club. Yes, we can think about all of these things, but they shouldn't take over from the fact that we're enjoying ourselves. In fact, doing some of these things should help you enjoy yourself, because you've got little reminders, little things that can take the pressure off you so that it can be more fun. Try to just embrace the whole group. Try not to end up in a bubble where it's just you thinking about what you're doing just like you would at home, because that way it can be very stressful, it can be very tense, and also you don't get any of the benefits of sharing music with other people. So try and listen to the sound the whole group makes as well as just what you're doing. Don't exist in a bubble, exist as part of the whole. So see if you can find a ukulele club near to you. If you look on gotaukulele.com, there's often lists of clubs, but just put your town or the nearest town and ukulele club into your preferred search engine, and you will probably find a club not too far away. I, a few years ago, discovered that there's a club in my relatively small town, walking distance from my house, and I didn't know it existed until I stumbled across it online. Other places to look that might not publicise themselves are the U3A. Now, in the UK, the U3A, the University of the Third Age, is something, it's an umbrella organisation that means that in lots and lots of towns, village halls, libraries, places like that, people who are retired can go and do things during the week. That it might be music, it might be the ukulele, it might be watercolour painting, it might be photography, it might be short story writing, it might be a poetry club. But they organise these events so that people have an active, busy social life and can pursue their interests in their own, now lots of, free time. And lots of them have a ukulele group, but they might not publicise it. So see if you've got a local U3A and ask them if there's a ukulele club at any of the local U3As to you. So if you've never been to a ukulele club before, have a little think about all of these things, but most of all, get your ukulele, get out the house, join the club and get stuck in. It's one of those things that is maybe a little bit scary to start with, and the first few songs you might think, I can't do this. In a couple of weeks you'll be strumming along with the best of them, and maybe a few weeks after that some other new person will come and join the group and you'll be able to take them under your wing and get them going just as the group did with you. I hope this has helped. Enjoy your ukulele club and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.